and welcome to episode 21 of the Dorton and Doetkott Debate Podcast. I am Lucas Dorton, joined once again by the man that still has not found his headband yet.
I know.
I don't know what...
I'm gonna have to Amazon another one over here, man. I don't know what I did with it. It's a shame. I've looked everywhere. I don't know what happened to it.
Well, Mr. Doetkott, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Besides that, I mean,
had some snow here in Minnesota today.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hardly any, but yeah.
May 8th and snowing. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But so today, for this episode, we're going to be doing a all-time franchise in baseball. We're going to do the Colorado Rockies and Minnesota Twins. So we will each be doing both of those teams to see if we have anything kind of different. Makes it a little more exciting, a little more fun. See anything else. Did you have any difficulty in making a list at all?
The Rockies pitchers were very difficult to pick between for me. Relievers for the
because they're all so good.
Right? Yeah. Dude, I'm sorry, but my gosh, is your history of pitching bad? I did not realize how bad it was.
Yep.
But Twins relief pitchers, there's the one obvious one, but after that it was kind of hard. But I don't know. I had some were obvious, like Killebrew and Puckett and Nolan Arenado. But yeah, I had some difficulties.
Sure. All right. Well, I suppose we can get right into it here. I guess we can just do Minnesota Twins, start there, if you'd like.
Yeah.
If your squad a rip at it here. So I want to hear, who do you have? We'll just go position here, probably the easiest way to do it. Who do you have at catcher for the?
I think this should be the most obvious one of the whole show. Joseph Patrick Mauer. We got Joe Mauer, future Hall of Famer in my book at catcher.
Yeah, I had Joe Mauer as well too. I think.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's surprising, right? This guy, I think he kind of gets a bad rap at the end of his career because he wasn't putting up huge numbers. But what I always tell people, and you can probably confirm this too, is that the numbers that he was putting up for catchers, it was not too bad at first base. But the fact that first base, he wasn't really putting up those.
The numbers he was, if even the last 4 or 5 years of his career where his numbers went down, if he were still catching, he'd be very valuable. He would have been one of the best catchers in the league statistically. Right. But yes, being that he was playing at first base, which is up until recently a premium hitting position, his value was obviously much less when he was over there. But he was still having like 370 on base percentages and was a very solid defensive first baseman. He was still decent. But what he did as a catcher alone should get him to the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. And to me, he's one of the best Twins ever. I mean, he's a 3-time batting champ as a catcher. I could be wrong, but I don't think a catcher's ever won a batting championship except him, and he's won 3 of them.
Okay. Well, I also will remember, too, Joe Mauer on back-to-back covers of MLB The Show as well, too. I think it was like 2010, 2011, something like that.
Yeah.
On a back-to-back years there. But, no, I mean, again, this is probably one of the easiest ones. I don't think I really have to go too much into detail about this.
Yeah.
If you have Mauer's all-time Twins catcher, then you probably shouldn't be watching baseball.
Yeah, probably my favorite Twin of all time.
Oh, yeah?
It's a toss-up. Him and Torrey Hunter and Johan. Because when I first started watching the Twins, those were the 3. Well, it was mainly Hunter and Johan, and then Mauer came along.
Okay.
I don't know. I like Rosario now, but Mauer's one of the best, one of my faves.
So you think Hall of Famer?
Yes. If he were a first baseman his whole career, no. But he was a catcher for most of his career. He won an MVP as a catcher, 3 batting titles as a catcher. That is why. Because he was a catcher, he should be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
I agree. I don't know about first ballot, but definitely second or third. I think he's going to be.
I put it this way: if Joe Mauer, take whatever year he started playing first base, I don't know what year that was exactly. Maybe 2015 15 maybe.
Okay.
If you just wipe all those first base years out of his career, let's just say he retired, he'd be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But instead, he played 4 or 5 years at first, and people began thinking, "Oh, he's not that good." Well, what you did at the end of your career should not take away what you did before that. If he retired before at that 1 year, as you know, I can't catch anymore, I'm just going to retire, he'd easily be in. Nobody would debate it.
Right.
So,
right.
Just because he wasn't that great towards the end of his career shouldn't affect it, in my opinion.
Career stats had over 1,000 runs, drove in just under 1,000 runs, RBIs, hit 306, 388 OBP, and then 439 slugging. So the guy could hit and get on base. That's the thing.
And he won some Gold Gloves too. So
Gold Glove. That's another thing too. People really think of Joe Mauer for his hitting ability. I mean, for good reason. But the guy catcher too.
Yeah, he was one of the best defensive catchers in the league, and he didn't win a Gold Glove at first base, I don't think, but he was a good first baseman defensively too.
Yeah. So go to first base now. Who did you have as the Twins' first baseman?
So it's between Ken Turbeck and Justin Morneau, and Morneau had the best season of any of them, where he won MVP. He also had 1 year where he played half a season, 81 games. He batted like 340 something. But career number wise, Ken Turbeck's numbers are slightly better, I would say. So I went with Ken Turbeck at first.
I went with Justin Morneau. The guy was a really solid defensive first baseman, and he could hit too. He was one of the premier power hitters in the league playing. Colorado won a batting title there, so that's.
I would just say he's one of probably just a few people we'll have on our list that played for both the Twins and the Rockies. So
yeah. But anyways, I mean, you can't go wrong with either of those guys. I went with Morneau. Herbeck, though, certainly a solid pick. That's for sure. Second base, I feel this one is fairly easy as well too for the Twins. I'm assuming.
Rod Carew. There's argument as to him being the best Twin ever. So, I mean, Rod Carew Rod Carew and Tony Gwynn are very, very similar. It's kind of like take your pick. They're two of the best hitters we've ever seen, average-wise, hits-wise. So, yeah, it's definitely Carew.
So how far behind is Brian Dozier on that list for second base?
He's definitely second. He's not, considering he hit 40, it was either 42 or 43 home runs in a year, which is like second most, I think, in a season by a second baseman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's big time. And he was a good defensive second baseman, and he was good for 4 or 5 years for the Twins. So, I mean, he's behind. I'd say it's still a ways, because Rod Carew, he was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But, Dozier's up there. He had a very solid career as a Twin.
Now this is another person I had a question on, Chuck Knobloch too. I know he played some I believe he played some outfield too. Yeah. Where would you?
So I actually did do like a few bench players, and I got Knobloch on there because that would be my backup second baseman. He was just, he was more consistent than Dozier, I would say. Year in, year out, Knobloch had a good batting average, and he was a pretty solid player.
So what's the kind of the general consensus around Chuck Knobloch? Because, obviously he had that wanting to go to the Yankees and, get me out of here kind of thing. And the Twins fans, obviously I wasn't really around when that happened. But from what I've read up, is Twins fans were not really happy about that. How is he now? Are they kind of more okay with him, or still kind of upset, or what?
Most people my age don't even really care.
Right.
But, I think the general consensus is we just simply are appreciative of the fact that we had Chuck Knobloch as a rookie in 91 to help us win the World Series. And besides that, I think there's somewhat got over it. And I think he was a 4-time All-Star, and they were all as Twins. So he wasn't even an All-Star as a Yankee. So anybody who was mad that he left probably the fact that he wasn't as good as a Yankee probably made them feel a little bit better. So I don't know. I think it's a pretty good, though, general consensus about Knobloch here.
Shortstop now, and Nick, this was honestly probably for the Rockies and the Twins, for me at least, this was probably the toughest position to put a player in the Twins. Good to see who you had for here.
I have Roy Smalley.
Okay.
I'm pretty much just going with general consensus. Like I just looked up best twin shortstops all time. There was I can't remember what site it was. It listed WAR, RBI. Smalley was pretty much the leader, I think, in WAR, home runs, and I think like OPS. He wasn't that great. It's just the Twins all time shortstop wise are not good.
Yeah.
So I think Smalley is just kind of the guy by default. I mean, if you wanted, you could probably throw Jorge Polanco in there just because he had a good year last year. But I mean, he hasn't been around that long, so I went with Smalley. I think the one I really liked Christian Guzman when I was growing up. That was my guy, and he was pretty good. But I think Smalley's numbers have to put him over Guzman.
I put I initially I didn't have anything because I truly could not find a shortstop.
It's not good.
But on this website that I'm reading, this George McBride guy played there from 1908 to 1920. He had a career 221 batting average. He only hit 5 home runs, 393 RBIs, and 116 stolen bases. But for when I'm reading here, obviously they said they didn't have Gold Gloves during that time, but they were known for his great defense, and that he even was considered a decent base stealer, and he managed to get a few MVP votes simply for his defense alone.
Really?
So making a lot home at 9 and hope he gets a hit every once in a while. I don't know.
And technically he's a Washington Senator, but yes, that is the Twins. That's still the Twins franchise technically. So yeah, it's definitely not a position of superiority for Minnesota. I mean, we went Jason Bartlett. Nick Pinto would play there every once in a while. Brendan Harris, Alexi Casilla, Pedro Florimon, who was just awful offensively. I mean, yeah, it's Polanco. I think we finally turned the corner, though. Polanco looks pretty decent, and like Royce Lewis is the number one prospect, or was it number one pick? He's the top prospect. He's a shortstop. Wander Javier. Almost all our top hitting prospects are shortstops or outfielders right now. So,
didn't you guys have a I can't remember the name, a Japanese player? Wasn't he a shortstop for you guys?
Tsushi Nishioka.
Okay, yeah.
Because he wasn't around long. If I remember right, he played second mainly.
Second base. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure.
I'm gonna go look. Yeah, I was really excited when we got him, and he never really panned out. And he got an injury that didn't help either. So.
Oh, gotcha. That doesn't help.
Nick Swisher slid into him trying to break up a double play and broke his leg.
Oh, Nick. I love Nick Swisher. I mean, that's not a very good play. So I am at third base now. From what I saw, it looks like Gary Gaetti is kind of a clear choice for third base as far as that goes. Did you have anyone different at that position?
I actually did. I think Gary Gaetti would be the consensus third baseman. However, I kind of cheat a little bit to make it so my outfield is better. I put Harmon Killebrew at third. He's known mainly as a first baseman or like a left fielder, but especially towards the beginning of his career, he did play a little bit of third base. And to me, he played enough of it to give me a reason to put him there. So I put Harmon Killebrew there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, whatever position he played, like he's kind of all over.
Yeah, he has and as long as you're willing to accept the third base that he's the third baseman, he's obviously the choice there because he has pretty much every home run record for the Twins. I mean,
yeah. So,
whatever position you wanted to consider him as, he's making it, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. It looks like Gay had a decent, career, had over 200 home runs.
Oh yeah, and he was a part of the World Series teams as well. Gary.
Looks like didn't hit for a high average. So we will go to left field now. This is actually where I threw in Harmon Killebrew. I threw him in left field. One of the best players of all time, potentially one of the best, if not the best twin of all time. I'm sure you'll make that argument.
Yeah.
He did play some time at first base as well, too. Had led the league in home runs for 3 straight seasons. Uh, average was not the best. He only hit 258 in his career.
I believe that's the worst, I believe that's the worst or second worst batting average for any Hall of Famer. But he's got almost 600 home runs. So
yeah, you can't not put him in for that. Seems like whenever he made contact with the ball, it was going out.
Yeah.
So who did you have at left field?
So I kind of cheated here.
Okay.
I put Torrey Hunter, who is not a left fielder. He is a center fielder. But if you can play center, you can play anywhere in the outfield. And I did not want to leave Torrey Hunter off this list because, I mean, the dude was really, really good. I will say, if you're not okay with putting him at left field, then I would put Killebrew at left field and I would insert Gaetti at third base. But I went with Torrey Hunter in left field. I think he technically did play. I think he played a few games there in his career too, though. So I put Hunter there. I mean, the dude's got upper 300s for home runs. He's like a 9-time Gold Glove winner.
Yeah.
He's one of the best Twins of this century. Since 2000, he's one of the best Twins. So, and he was my favorite growing up. So I did not want to leave this man off the list. So I cheated a little bit and put him at left field.
Hey, that's fine. I mean, I love Torrey Hunter. I don't have him in my list here, but I just remember, I mean, you know, watching Twins highlights when I was younger, it seems like he was always making a Spider-Man catch at the wall or gunning someone out. I mean,
he robbed Barry Bonds of a home run in the All-Star game.
Yep. Barry Bonds picked him up over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So center field now, who did you have here?
Probably the most favorite Twin in generally the most favorite Twin in history. The most popular Twin in history, probably Kirby Puckett. To be honest, Torrey Hunter's stats are not that much worse than Puckett. Puckett, average-wise, yes. Puckett was like a 318 career average. He was a very good hitter, and he's a Hall of Famer for that exact reason. And I think he was, although Hunter's good, it's obviously Puckett's spot right here at center field. I mean, the dude had the Game 6 walk-off home run with the infamous "We'll see you tomorrow night" call. He also made, he made a fantastic catch in that game, too. He had a very good World Series both times. He was probably the best Twin on both those teams. So, yeah, probably the most popular Twin of all time and one of the best.
Too bad his career was kind of cut short to kind of see what else he's done.
And that's, his career unfortunately did not last too long. You know, he got hit in the eye with a pitch, and that really affected him.
Because I'm seeing here, only played for like 11 seasons. I mean, put up great for those 11 seasons, but you figure if that didn't happen, probably could have played at least another 8 more. I'd say 7 more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was. I think. Yeah. Like I said, he got hit one time, and I think that didn't help that did not help the cause.
Sure. Right field now. I had Tony Oliva here. Again, probably one of the better Twins of all time. You know, the guy could hit. You know, he could drive in runs. It looks like he had won a Rookie of the Year award. You know, had a decent bat, decent glove as well too. So I had him there in my right field spot.
I did as well. I think most lists would have Tony Oliva here. His number is retired. One of the, see what Mauer now. I think there's 7 Twins retired. But I'm not sure. I know. I just have to think of it. But yeah, Oliva's numbers retired for good reason. I mean, he had a 304 career batting average, according to Base Reference. He was on the 65 World Series team, in which he batted 321 that year. Just an all-around very solid player. One Rookie of the Year, as you mentioned. He did win a Gold Glove one time. And at one point, I had like 3 or 4 autographed baseballs of Tony Oliva. So, but his autograph's probably not worth that much because he signed so frequently. But
that's so cool, though. That's awesome.
I've met him a couple times.
Pretty nice guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's not. I think his age is. I think he's kind of aging fast. He wasn't the most talkative, but yeah, I've met him a few times. Nice guy.
Now we also did DH here. What DH did you throw in for the Minnesota Twins?
This is where I inserted Justin Morneau.
Okay.
I mean, the dude was 2006 MVP. As I mentioned before, him and Herbeck, I think, were very close. I think most would actually take Morneau over Herbeck like you did. I personally, Oh, and actually, sorry, I screwed up here. Being that I would have Morneau and Herbeck both, I would put Morneau at first and put Herbeck at DH. Sorry,
Okay.
I think Morneau was maybe slightly better defensively. So I screwed up there. I meant to have Morneau at first base, and then I would have Herbeck as my DH.
Okay. Yeah. Phenomenal hitter. Had just about 300 home runs in his career, drove in over 1,000 RBIs. Really, really raw player. And says he hit 20 home runs almost every season after his rookie year, too. Well, that's huge.
So, interesting fact, in 2006, Justin Morneau was MVP.
Okay.
Johan Santana was Cy Young, and Joe Mauer was batting champ.
Really?
He said MVP, Cy Young, and batting champ. You know how many playoff games he won? 0.
I'm a 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like the Minnesota Twins way. Have a great regular season and can't quite do things in the playoffs.
Yeah, they've lost 16 playoff games in a row.
Hey, look at it this way. At least you guys have won your division. Rockies have never won the division.
They haven't?
They've never won the division in their history. Every single time they've been in the playoffs, it was always as a wild card team.
And the Twins have only been a wild card once, actually.
Yeah. Nice.
I didn't realize that with Colorado.
Yep.
I suppose because Arizona won the division like year with 163, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers have won it for the last 50.
They've won what, 8 or 9 in a row now?
Something like that. Giants have mixed in a few there. So now we'll get to the starting pitching. I threw in 5 pitchers.
I did as well.
Okay, so these are the pitchers that I had. Let me know what you think. I had Bert Blyleven, Johan Santana, Brad Radke, Jack Morris, and Frank Viola. Who did you have for the Twins?
Would you put them in that order as well? Would Blyleven be your ace?
I might. I think Blyleven would be my ace. Johan would be my 2. I maybe would put Viola at 3, Morris at 4, and Radke at 5. Probably I was making a rotation.
Okay. So Morris is from Minnesota, and he was a stud. And he had the infamous 10-inning shutout in the World Series. However, I did not put him on here just because he was only a Twin for 1 year. I mean, that's fine. To me, I'd like a little more than a year to include you. So I went with Johan as the ace.
Okay.
Because honestly, Johan, in his prime, he didn't have quite as long of a career as most of these really, really good pitchers, but for a 5 to 10 year stretch, Johan is one of the better pitchers we've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
He's a 2-time Cy Young winner. He was top 5 in Cy Young, I believe, 5 times, and he was the best pitcher in baseball for probably 3 or 4 years. So Johan to me is the ace. He's also about the only time the Twins would ever beat the Yankees, even when we were good back in the early 2000s, was when Johan would pitch. So I got Johan at 1, and I got Bert Blyleven at 2. I have Frank Viola at 3. I went with Jim Cott at 4, who he played like 20-some seasons. He might not have had the stuff some of these guys did, but he was like a 14-time Gold Glover or something like that, and had a pretty decent ERA. So I went with Jim Cott. And then my number 5 is probably an unusual pick, but I went with Camilo Pascual. He was a Senator for a while, but he was the end of the Senators and the beginning of the Twins. So he was a Twin for a while too, and he had a pretty good career. So I sided with him over Brad Radke, because I was always a big Radke guy. But when I looked at the stats, his ERA wasn't quite as good as I thought it had been. So I decided to go with Pascual over Radke.
Sure, I've heard of Pascual before, so I'm going to take your word for it. As far as relief pitchers go, there was really only one name that came to mind for me, and that's Joe Nathan, arguably one of the best closers in baseball history.
So I was going to say, Nathan's got to be a Hall of Famer, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Okay, I sure hope he makes it.
One of the, top 10 closer of all time. He's.
Yeah. I was just saying, because I'm like, I think of Joe Nathan as the man, but I don't know. You got Rivera and Hoffman. Nathan's not one of them, but to me, Nathan's one of the better ones. I just didn't know if everybody felt that way or if that was just me.
Oh yeah, no, I think he is for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Who else?
So I got Joe Nathan as the closer as well. And then if I had to pick two others, I would probably say Rick Aguilera and Glenn Perkins. Perkins started off as a starter and was not very good, but he got moved to a closer, and he was an all-star 2 or 3 years, I think, in a row. Another hometown kid. And I think you could honestly put Taylor Rogers on here already. I know he hasn't been a Twin for very long, but I think he's only had 4 seasons. But Rogers is really good. I'm a big Rogers guy, but being that he's only been here for 4 years, I'd say I'd edge with Perkins and Aguilera over him. Pat Neshek was also, I also think is very underrated. He was a Rocky for a while, correct?
Yeah, he was.
So I got him on here, but if I had to only pick 3, I would go Glenn Perkins, Rick Aguilera, and Joe Nathan.
Okay. Yeah, Pat Neshek, he was pretty good with us. I mean, we only had him for like a half a season because we traded for him at the trade deadline. But he was the guy that gave up the hit to Archie Bradley in the playoffs. So I be for Pat Neshek. But
that's right.
Besides that,
yes.
he's pretty all right.
You got him from the Phillies, correct?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think he was an all-star that year. Like he was better towards the end of his. He was better. He's better now than he once was. He's gotten better with age. But yeah, I remember that's right. He went to Colorado and he wasn't quite as good as he was previously.
He was all right, regular season, not too bad, but after that, it was tough. It was tough to watch. But anyways, so we can probably, I guess, now, do you have some bench players that you'd like to throw in there too?
Yeah, I would have Chuck Knobloch I would have Knobloch and Gaetti as the infielders. Again, I could put Killebrew at left and then Gaetti at third, but I kind of cheated and put Hunter at left, so then I put Killebrew at third. So in that case, I got Knobloch and Gaetti, and then I got Bob Allison as my backup outfielder, and AJ Pierzynski is who I would put as the backup catcher.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes I kind of forget that he actually played with the Twins.
So yeah, he was with us for like 6 years.
Yeah.
But the trade of AJ Pierzynski is one of the best trades the Twins have ever made. It ended up not because we got, I believe, don't quote me, pretty sure we traded him to the Giants for Francisco Liriano, Boof Bonser, and Joe Nathan.
Wow.
I'm gonna go look it up.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, so
baseballalmanac.com. November 14th, 2003. Traded from the Twins to the Giants in exchange for Joe Nathan, Francisco Liriano, and Boof Bonser. Liriano was a stud for right away until he got injured. Joe Nathan, we already talked about him, and Boof Bonser was a pretty solid starter. So trading away AJ Pierzynski was a very, very good trade. But when he was here, he was a very good catcher for us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But anyways, yeah, I think the only other person I would probably throw in on the bench for me, I didn't start, Torrey Hunter. I mean, there. But anyways, so now we can move on to the Rockies now. So we'll just start here. Who did you have at catcher for the Rockies?
I have a feeling this is not a catcher most would take. It's not Torrealba or Iannetta. I went with Jeff Reed.
Okay.
Because I was leaning Iannetta because he's got. I would go Iannetta over Torrealba just simply because of the home runs. Jeff Reed had like a 280 batting average, and which was obviously doesn't sound great, but which was quite a bit better than any other catcher. So I decided to go Jeff Reed. I think personally I would rather have him than anyone else. So.
I went with Chris Iannetta. He only had 80 home runs in his career with us, but nonetheless, it seemed like he was always coming up in big moments, was always hitting big home runs. Was a solid defensive catcher too. I think Yorvit Torrealba had him beat there defensively. I think Torrealba biggest hits in our playoff history. for sure. Hit the home run against the backs and in the wild card game. But Iannetta is kind of who I went with. That's kind of who I watched a lot more of. But yeah, I mean Jeff Reed too. Obviously, I wasn't really around to watch him play, but
I'm a basereference.com right now, and as a Rocky, Jeff Reed had a 373 on base percentage and 286 batting average in 4 years. I mean that's pretty solid. So when I seen that, I had to go with him. If I'm being honest, if I had to take a second catcher, I would take Willeen Rosario. I know he was not in the league very long. He was like 5 years. But considering he hit 28 home runs one year, and I think he missed like 30 or 40 games, if I'm going to have my pick between catchers, unless they're really good, I'm going to take the guy who can hit me 20 home runs.
So I like Willeen Rosario. He could rake, like you mentioned, but defensively, he was not good. He was pretty terrible defensively.
Was he? I guess I couldn't tell.
As a hitter, yeah, absolutely. Plug him in the middle of that lineup, he'll get you 25 home runs, 80-some RBIs. But don't expect much behind the plate for him because it was tough to watch. That's kind
I think he was actually in the Twins minor league system for a while there.
Okay. Now we go to first base. I feel this one is pretty self-explanatory.
The Todd father.
Todd Helton. I have him there.
Favorite MLB player?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, super nice guy too. But yeah, I mean, my opinion, best Rocky of all time. He was career from '97 to 2013. I think he's a Hall of Famer. What do you think? Do you think Helton's a Hall of Famer?
Yes, Todd Helton's definitely a Hall of Famer. Todd Helton is kind of like I was to say he's kind of like the Tim Duncan of baseball. He's not as good as base player as Duncan's one of the best ever, but as in like he was a Rocky his whole career. He was never. Although he was always one of the best players in the league, he was never really talked about like it, and he's not really like this loud guy. So you don't think Todd Helton, but no, the dude was really, really good for a long time.
It was. It kind of fell off a little bit towards the end of his career. He kind of had some back issues and wasn't like the best hitter that he had been, but still in his whole career, he hit for 316, had an on-base percentage of 418 and slugged 539 in his career. So the defensively
in 2000 he was fifth in MVP, and I want to know who on earth was 1 through 4, because Todd Helton led the league in batting average, on base percentage, slugging, OPS, and total bases, doubles, and hits in 2000, and he was fifth in MVP.
Yeah,
and come on.
Oh, come
on.
Yeah, that's the Coors Field bias that people throw out. They don't think that he can do more, and it's one of the biggest mysteries. That's why I've never, because you still got to hit the ball. But
yeah, and as you mentioned, he was a good defender too. He was a 3-time Gold Glove winner. So yeah, I mean Todd Helton is easily a Hall of Famer.
So now we move to second base. Who did you have at second for the round?
The guy you probably wish was still there, DJ LeMahieu. Very good defensive second baseman, and he was always incredibly underrated as a Rocky. I think, not many people knew him because they had, Arenado and other guys, and he didn't necessarily hit home runs, but I think he had a batting title, correct?
I think he won a couple of them. Well,
yeah,
one or two, won a few Gold Gloves too.
Yeah. But yeah, he was always really. I mean, he's always been good. Nobody ever really knew about him, and then the Yankees get him, and to no surprise to me, he is now known as a very good player because he's playing with the Yankees. And clearly, he was good not just because of Coors Field, because he had the best season of his career this last year away from Coors Field. He did hit much more home runs this year than he ever did as a Rocky, but
so if how shortstop is for the Twins, how there wasn't really a lot of great players for the longest time. That's how second base was for the Rockies. It seemed like until DJ came, it almost seemed like every single year we had a different second baseman. Eric Young was there at the start. We had Kaz Matsui in the 2007 team.
Kaz Matsui
there. Marco Scutaro played there. I mean,
I used to love Marco Scutaro. I don't know why.
I loved him. No, I love the team. Yeah. But DJ finally came in and kind of solidified that second base spot. Definitely best second baseman in our history.
Who you got this year?
Last year, so I don't know. We kind of a platoon thing. So Ryan McMahon played a lot of second base for us. He also played some first. But Brendan Rodgers
I say, are they gonna go second base with Rodgers?
Yeah. My ideal situation would be throw Rodgers at second base, and then kind of have McMahon play first, and then Daniel Murphy, unless he can prove himself, because he was not very good last year for us.
No.
First, anyways, we can move on. Third base, pretty easy, and Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy decision there.
We had solid. Third base has always been a fairly solid position for us. Garrett Atkins had some solid seasons there. He was part of the 2000s. Ian Stewart was there too. He was pretty solid as well. But obviously, it's a no-brainer. It's Nolan.
Yeah, probably will be the best Rocky of all time when he's
probably
said and done.
I think he will. He's well on his way. That's for sure. Well on his way. Shortstop, who'd you have there?
I honestly think there's an argument for. I think there's a big argument for Trevor Story, but I decided to go with Tulo. The main reason was the on-base percentage. Tulo has a much higher on-base percentage than Story, but Story's got a little more pop in his bat. Batting average is Tulo a little bit. Defensively, they're both very good, but Tulo is known. Tulo's got multiple Gold Gloves. The dude had an absolute missile from short, and like I said, the on-base percentage is quite a bit higher. That's really what is having me lean Tulo over Story. It's
a shame that Tulo could never really stay healthy, because I truly think if he would have been healthy in his career, call me biased, whatever, I really don't care. I honestly think he could have been one of the best shortstops to ever play the game. I mean, defensively, he won gloves.
Yeah.
Defensively, and he could rake too. He was a solid player, and I wish healthy more often than he was, because I don't think we ever got to see true potential.
I mean, 2014, Grant, it was only 91 games worth, but he had a 340 average, 432 on base percentage, and 21 home runs, which is a pace for about 40. The dude was, and then that's right about where his injury problems really started happening, and he's never been the same since.
And we're getting a call here at the Dorton and Doetkott network. I'll have to ignore the fans, and I'll get back to that one after that. But we're in a podcast. I'll get back to that later. But anyways, I also enjoyed Tulowitzki. I will say, though, that I think Trevor Story I think he's very close. I think he's almost there. Maybe in another season or two, I definitely taking over that spot. But it's got to be Tulo for now. He was kind of the guy. Before Tulowitzki, a lot of the shortstops weren't really big. They didn't really hit for power. Defensively, were fairly solid. Tulo was kind of the first breed of those bigger shortstops. He was a tall guy, drive the ball, and definitely started that trend for sure. But anyway, Tulo was
and Tulo had a very solid rookie year, that 2007 World Series year too. Yeah.
Should have won Rookie of the Year, but
who did get it? Because he was second voting. Oh, yeah.
That's the top 10 mysteries science has yet to discover, is how Todd Helton didn't win the MVP in 2000, and how Troy Tulowitzki didn't win the Rookie of the Year in 2007.
Like I said, Todd Helton was fifth. It's one thing to be second or third, but fifth. He led the league in like 7 categories.
Yep, you're not wrong. So we'll go left field now. Now this one was tough, because the Rockies have had a lot of solid outfielders in their history.
Yes.
However, he was only there from 2004 to 2008, but I went with Matt Holliday. His career in those seasons really 19 the best power game. The 2007 season, I think, certainly could have been an MVP. Given it to him. But anyway, Matt Holliday, super solid in left field. I think maybe you could have gone Cargo if you wanted to, but I think I had to go Holliday.
I was flipping back and forth between those two. I actually changed it a couple times and decided to go with Matt Holliday as well.
Okay.
It's very close. And Holliday wasn't a Rocky as long as Cargo was either, which could play a little bit of a role. But I think Holliday's peak was probably better than Cargo's by slightly. And not that it really matters, but Holliday had the infamous play in game 163 where, once again, he didn't touch home, Dorton. But, you know what? Whatever.
Nick Duckett, you are stop. Just stop. Yeah. But Holliday, I mean, Cargo end season. Billy Vaughn ended up winning it. I got to go with Holliday for that. Center, who did you consider?
At center, I got Charlie Blackmon.
Yeah.
I think it was, I don't know. I mean, of all the really good outfielders they've had, Blackmon's, I'd say, the only legit center fielder of all the really good ones. So I'd go Blackmon.
Yeah, I went with him. He played right field with best because his speed wasn't really the best anymore. Coors Field is a ginormous outfield. So you really but yeah. Right field.
Larry Walker. I mean,
yeah.
Larry Walker. The Hall of Famer.
The Hall of Famer.
Finally made it when he should have made it a long, long time ago.
Should have made it 10 years ago.
Right?
And now they're not even going to have the ceremony this summer. They're pushing it to next year.
Yeah, like everything else, that just sucks.
I cannot. Well, the one positive thing that had come from sports during all of this is that Larry Walker got inducted to the Hall, and now I have to wait another year to actually watch it. But anyways, yeah, I'll do it. Kind of a no-brainer.
And then I don't know. Did you put DH? I know obviously normally Colorado would not have one, but being that the Twins have a DH, I just figured, you know what, I'll even it out. I'll give Rockies a DH, and I put that's where I put Trevor or no, I want Andres Galarraga on there.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
A Rocky is what he was best to the Rocky, I'd say, and his numbers were really good. So I have Galarraga over Story there.
You could go with a number of different guys here. I think one of the Blake Street bombers there, Andres Galarraga. I think you could go with Vinny Castilla. You could go with Dante Bichette. I think I'm going to go with Dante Bichette. I think that he was there a couple more seasons longer than Andres Galarraga was. But, you can't go wrong with Galarraga for sure. So that's a super solid pick. Rockies have had a lot of phenomenal hitters in their time, but that's about it. Pitching a little subpar, but we'll get so who was your starting five for pitchers that you had for the Rockies?
I'd say the ace would be Ubaldo. I mean, he had that one really, really solid year where he fizzled out at the end. Otherwise, he would have had a Cy Young. But I have Ubaldo. I have Ulysses Chassin. I actually think he's quite underrated. As a Rocky, he was pretty good. By the way, he's a Twin now. Herman Marquez. I know he hasn't been around long, but I got Marquez, John Gray, another recent one, and Jorge De La Rosa. I know that's pretty debatable. Probably not the most popular picks it would be, but I'm ERA wise, these guys had these were five of the best ones ERA wise. So I that's my five.
I had Ubaldo Jimenez as well too. I had Jorge De La Rosa, who is our franchise's all-time leader in wins with like 86. And then I have Aaron Cook on there, a phenomenal sinker ball pitcher.
07 he was their best
Yep.
pitcher probably that year.
Ubaldo Jimenez, or I already said that, sorry. Pedro Estacio, who was kind of there in the late 90s, early 2000s for the Rockies. And then I had Jeff Francis as well on there too. Now, you kind of, take out those last couple years for the Rockies. Francis was not the best, but before that, a super solid pitcher for sure.
And yeah, I'm probably holding I looked Jeff Francis, I'm like, man, this guy's stats are not as good as I thought. So I laughed him off, but I don't know. I mean, Jeff Francis or Yalisha Seen or John Gray, I mean, he's probably got a good argument over him, but I left him off.
I think by the end of their career, German Marquez and John Gray will be on there for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What up for relievers? Who do you have there?
So I would have Brian Fuentes as the closer.
Yep.
And then I have Houston Street. And then it's either Adam Ottavino or Steve Reed. Only because I'd say Ottavino would be better, but he wasn't there quite as long. But it's between those two for the third spot.
Yeah. I am going to go as well with he's our all-time save leader with 115. That was actually one of my favorite pitches growing up because he kind of had the 3/4 like arm slot motion when he pitched, and that's kind of how I pitched too. So I loved watching him pitch. That's kind of. I also had Houston Street on there. When we traded Matt Holliday to Oakland, Carlos Gonzalez, the guys that we got earned there. So I'd say we did pretty all right in that one.
Yeah.
And then the third guy was kind of tough. I think it's between three people. Ottavino, Reed, I think Matt Belisle.
Matt Belisle's good too.
But so I think I'm gonna go with Matt Belisle. I think you could really throw any one of those three guys there. But that guy was always when he came into the games, you knew he was going to get outs when have the low ERA, but he did all right. He did all right. That's who I have.
Yeah.
For that.
Matt Belisle is just a twin. A year or two? He's obviously was a little old as a twin, so he wasn't too hot as a twin. But yeah, he was a solid pitcher for the Rockies. Manny Corpas was also pretty good. Scott Oberg, I know hasn't been around long, but his last 2 seasons he's been really solid, so he's got an argument too, I think.
Are there any other bench guys you'd throw in there for the Rockies?
So I'd have Carlos Gonzalez and Trevor Story, obviously, and then Vinny Castilla, who you mentioned. And probably, honestly, I don't know how, but Dante Bichette totally didn't even cross my mind, but he probably should be on there. Yeah.
Yep. I have all those guys on there too. Eric Young, throw him on there for 4 seasons right there.
So you guys had Eric Young Sr. and Jr., right?
Yeah. Yep. That is who I have, and that is the end of this show, Mr. Doetkott. Do you have any final baseball thoughts? Any other sports topics? Anything you'd like to bring up?
Dude, I have never missed baseball more in my entire life. I just miss baseball so much. It's killing me, man. It's killing me.
No, I'm with you 100%. What's kind of funny is that people are talking how, NBA season won't come back, NHL season won't come back, the NFL. It's like, okay, well, you guys got to watch, you guys got to watch your favorite sports. We might not even have a season for me.
Yeah. Right? I know. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I really hope NBA figures something out too and finishes their season because obviously, I'm kind of an adopted Laker fan right now. But yeah, I mean, I miss baseball so much. I mean, it's May. May is baseball season, man. And I play town team. Probably a good chance we won't be playing that. I won't be playing baseball this year either. So yeah, I don't know. I just miss it so much. That's why I've been like an MLB The Show junkie lately.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you gotta get your fix But anyways, that's all the stuff that I had to talk about. If you'd like to give us a follow, definitely subscribe us on the YouTube channel, Dorton and Doetkott Debate Podcast. We're always looking to get more people on the show too. So if you want to come on, certainly let us know. We can try and make something happen at some point once sports are going on again. Give us a follow on Twitter. You can follow myself at Lucas_Dorton, capital L, capital D. If you want to follow Nick on Twitter at Doetkott, Doetkott, whatever is easier for you there. And then follow the official Twitter page of the Dorton Doetkott Debate Podcast. It is at DND.
Do that.
_podcast, capital D's, capital P for that. Definitely let us know what you thought about it. If you have suggestions of stuff you'd like us to talk about, we're all ears right now. That's for sure. And yeah, that's just about it. So thank you, everybody. I think that's episode 21 of the Dorton and Doetkott Debate Podcast. And until next time, we are out.